Well, with a baby on the way, I am about to experience just how challenging life can be as a mother.
So becoming a mum, Sarah, is pretty hard to describe and sometimes even harder to comprehend. But there is a word that sums it up, and it is called matrescence.
Yes, and now there's a push to add that word to the dictionary. And to discuss, we're joined by perinatal and reproductive psychiatrist, Dr. Edna Lekarbe. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello.
Thanks for having me on, ladies.
So I found out about this word after my first child was born 3 years ago, and I felt so seen. It changed everything for me personally. Can you explain for people that don't know what matrescence means?
It's wild. It's wild that you figured it out, that we heard about it 3 years postpartum, right? It is, I describe it to people as like a developmental earthquake. It's an earthquake, and only the mother going through it can feel it. It is equivalent to it's like the adolescence version of motherhood. It is this profoundly complex and deep transformation that happens for women, where there's biological shifts, there's psychological shifts, there is identity shifts, there is relationship shifts, there is so much happening, and it's really hard to put it down to just one feeling and one word, but matrescence is it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I'm first time pregnant this far along. I'd never even heard of the word matrescence until Renee actually mentioned it to me when I told you I was pregnant the first time.
Wild.
And right, this is the thing, because I think it's so far removed from our everyday narrative. And, you know, you hear about the changes, obviously, to your body and those. I mean, even that's still a surprise when it actually happens to you. But what was interesting to me is what happens to your brain, I guess, and then, of course, something else postpartum. You know, we often dismiss this as baby brain, but it is a real thing, because you're juggling a lot.
Totally. Spot on. It's wild to me that, well, maybe I'll make it, this is the message that I really wanted to get through, which is that women and their families need to know that it's not just the body changing, like the uterus, the hands, the feet, the hair, the skin, but actually the brain is rewiring for motherhood. It is rewiring for motherhood. And what's actually happening is it's called synaptic pruning, which is the brain shrinking. No, you're not losing your marbles. You're not losing your intelligence. It just means that the brain's rewiring, and it's sort of tightening up the areas of the brain that are needed so that the mother can be attuned to her baby's needs. And there's multiple areas that change. The 5 top areas that are changing for you now, Sarah, are the areas that are for emotional regulation, so you can understand your baby; social connection, so you can understand the social demographic around you; and then there's also the threat detection. You need to be able to see all threats coming for your baby. The area of your part that also changes is the memory and learning. So you're learning new skills of how to be a mom. You've never been a mom. So you're learning that as well. So there's lots of changes going on in the brain.
Yeah, I think for me at least, initially you're sort of in this kind of baby bubble where you're expecting everything to be new, but it's then when you try and go back to your old life. And, you know, I went back after my first when the baby was 4 months old, and I actually felt like I was 2 different people. I was Jane has a party at work, and I was mummy when I was at home. So, like, is matrescence, is there a point at where it starts and finishes, or is it like a permanent state?
Question.
It's a permanent state. It starts at preconception, when a woman starts thinking about becoming a mom, because already her priorities, values are shifting, identity shifting while she's thinking about it. And then in pregnancy, there's changes. Postpartum, the changes continue, and it continues with every single developmental leap of your child. It continues, those changes continue. And when you meet yourself back at work, when your old self meets your new self, or your emerging self, it's a bit of a whirlwind for the mind. And that's what I think you're describing. When you came back to work, it's like there's this push-pull. There's this pull towards the kids and this push to be at work.
And it's merging those two people. It's such an interesting experience. And I think what's so amazing is you're going into this knowing about this. None of us did, and I think that's really going to change your experience. I think if more women knew about this, their postpartum experience would be so much better. And the fact that there's now a campaign pushing to have this word added to the dictionary. I mean, what kind of difference is this going to make for mothers and for society?
Deeply validating. Deeply validating to know what's happening. It is empowering, you know. It's empowering, and it helps women move away from shame. It helps them, you know, get support before it all happens. So it is, awareness is so important. Otherwise, you're right in it and unable to name it because it is so powerful. It touches all parts of your life.
Yeah. I mean, and we could talk to you for hours about these, but,
Yes,
but just
I
to end
know.
on...
And we have 4 minutes.
I know. Just a final note, obviously being a perinatal reproductive psychiatrist yourself, what advice would you give to mothers who, like me, I mean, there are millions of us right now out there about to become mothers for the first time. What advice would you give us to navigate through this with that added sort of understanding that it's not just us, you know, everyone who is preparing to be mum is going through this?
Everyone's going through it. Firstly, it's about getting to know the word matrescence. Yeah, so get yourself familiar with it. Name it. By naming it, you're already empowering yourself for it. Expect that there will be lots of mixed emotions. Motherhood is not just joy and roses and pink balloons. It is mixed with grief, fear, ambivalence. Exactly. Create yourself a village, you know, emotional and practical and professional help if needed. And also be aware that you need to go back to basics. Sleep, rest, food. These are not a luxury. It's an actual, it's basic. It is required for regulation. And last but not least, you need to remember your identity matters. That, you know, motherhood shifts you. It doesn't change you completely who you are. You're still there. But there are some shifts that will happen. Be prepared.
Very good advice, Dr. LaCava. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having
Great to
me.
finally chat with you. We've been planning it for a while, so it's good to get your insight.
I'm happy to be back anytime to talk about this topic. Let's blow it up.